Hello, guys. How are you guys doing today? Nika here with your daily neuro nugget. Just trying to set up this laptop. You guys are currently sitting on a pile of 6 books, so I'm hoping it doesn't topple over. Um, we have some more talking to do about Steve Gonsalves. Now, I'm going to just say from the get go, if you're a snowflake, right? If you're sensitive, I'm sensitive too, but if you're a snowflake, if you're a close minded individual, my channel is not for you. And just a reminder for all of those who are joining us in the chat, I don't tolerate bullying, right? It is the one thing for you to disagree. I love when people disagree. That's cool, but you don't have to bully. You don't have to be weird. You don't have to just be respectful. Like, how hard is it to be nice, right? We can agree to disagree. So, hello guys, we are going to be talking about Steve Gonsalves. Is he this saintly father, or is he a man who is becoming more suspicious by the day? And I think most of us agree on our point of view on the Gonsalves, but every now and then the Gonsalves army of hate like to strike back. And I'm here for it, baby. I'm ready. So I hope you guys are staying warm. Is the chat working? Can you guys hear me? Emily, hello. Sleuthy Kitty, Chantal, Phonetics, Colder Covered, Nikki. Welcome, guys. So I wanted to mention a comment, right? It was posted on yesterday's videos. I'm going to read it to you guys. And I actually covered this topic before. I made a video titled, let's see, if you look it up on the YouTube search bar and just type in nikasneuronuggets, IDAHO4, did Steve Gonsalves accidentally take Kaylee out? You need to go watch that video. Thank you, Phonetics. You hear me loud and clear. Thank you, Judy, for the kind comment. Now, the comment shared by somebody yesterday says, man, oh man, okay, coming from a law enforcement background, not a police officer's, I will say that all of this family statements have left me scratching my head. And I'm like, that's kind of all of us, I think, right? There are a few people that are still slightly brainwashed, but let's be real. I think a lot of us have been able to see through the acting, the fakeness, fake niceness. That's not just me saying that. A lot of people have said that. You can agree to disagree, right? He said the beginning was the worst. I felt like they were trying way too hard to get their actions of that morning out of the public eye. SG waking up with a rash that ended up being Ramsey Hunt, to the family for planning their typical Sunday afternoon for watching football, to the calls received from KG's niece, telling her about an incident at a party where Kaylee was injured instead of rushing directly to the scene to check on her. That is very suspicious. And yes, maybe you are not new to the channel. Maybe you already know this. You don't have to remind me. This is not new information for all of us, but we do have this very small channel with a lot of new people coming in who may not be as up to date to the case. So it is imperative that we remind them, because the average American, the average news consumer, CBS, Fox, whatever news channel, they're listening to the narrative. They're getting the narrative. We know that Nancy Disgrace is not going to be out here talking about these weird, suspicious behaviors that, in my opinion, contradict a lot of typical grieving behavior that a family would show, right? And I agree with this comment, right? We know that SG, his actions a little strange, especially in the beginning, right? With the rash, very weird that it happened to be the same day. And even more strange, like this commenter mentioned, that you're watching football, you're receiving calls from KG's niece telling you about an incident at a party. As a parent, guys, would you not immediately rush over to your child? I'm going to share a little personal story here. When I was in college, I had one of those very old phones, right? Like you pay 10 cents or something for every text. And I went to a party and I drank and I kind of passed out once I got back to my place. And I forgot I was supposed to have met my parents. We were going to have a phone call, right? And because I was so shit faced, really, I missed that call. And they kept calling and calling and calling, and they couldn't get through to me. So my family actually drove 4.5 hours to get to where I was at because they thought I was dead. They were just worried because I was not picking up my phone. Now, in this case, you guys let me know. Is it suspicious that Steve Gonsalves was getting all these calls, that the family was allegedly getting calls from this incident at a party, and they're just not going to show? They're just not going to try to call? Did they try to call? Maybe they did, and it's something I have never heard of. Why wouldn't you go there? That is very suspicious, in my opinion. And yes, we can't assume that every parent is going to act the same, but I would do that for my children, right? If I can't get through to them, and if I hear that there's an incident, I'm getting my ass up. I do not care if it's 4 a.m., if there's thunderstorm, volcanoes, fires. I don't give a damn. I'm going to drive to them. So Steve Gonsalves, in my opinion, continues to contradict himself. Why? Because he keeps saying that, this was his daughter, that he cared about her so much. But again, his actions don't show it, right? And people who score high in narcissistic traits will often portray themselves to be this virtuoso, this person who cares about others, this person who cares about their family, who does everything right. And then at the end of the day, they don't do shit. So some of you yesterday got a little frazzled. You're like, Nika, this doesn't matter. It doesn't affect the case. But I'm like, well, I'm going to open your mind a little bit here. Just pay close attention, right? Because again, there are still to this day 3 other sources of unknown male DNA. And if you don't know where this is going, well, then you need to go watch that video that I made 2 months ago titled, Did Steve Gonsalves Accidentally Take Kaylee Out? This really triggered the Gonsalves army of hate because what I'm theorizing, I've theorized a lot of things, right? Doesn't mean we have any evidence. We are just discussing potential theories, right? So I talk a little bit about Hex in that video and why was Steve trying to get so involved, right? From the get-go, trying to paint this narrative. Why did he not directly rush to the scene to check on her? They waited until a deputy arrived on their doorstep to give them the news. I need a drink. You're going to wait until a deputy allegedly gets to your doorstep so that you drive over to where there's supposedly some incident at a party. Is that what a caring parent does? It's just bubbly water, guys. I try to be healthy. This was gifted and it's so good. I think I'm hooked. With that said, this comment is right. It is still, in my opinion, slightly unfair for us, right, to judge the situation because we don't have all the information. We have only bits and pieces of truths and lies and things that don't make sense and what the media says. And we know that the media often likes to only show us tidbits, right? So if somebody does a full interview, they'll like take snippets of what they want to show us, and then we have a completely different view. So that has to be taken into account. But I just think it is a little bit suspicious if, again, I don't know if that's true. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. So unless I see something with my own eyes, I don't know. But if what we are told is true, that the Gonsalves chose to not go to the incident, They chose to not rush over there. Is that strange? Let me know in the chat. Amy says, I'm judging Steve gives me the creeps. And yes, of course, they'd want Cy excluded, like Cold and Cupboard says. We know that Cy has 30 plus years of law enforcement training. He has trained FBI agents. He's trained all the agents in different things. He knows his stuff. If there is a man that knows his stuff, in my opinion, it is Cy Ray. I wish I had the time. I wish he had the time. Maybe we could interview him one day in the future. This guy is amazing. Like, him and his wife have a podcast, I believe, right on here on YouTube. I've watched short snippets. Go watch them. This man knows this stuff, guys. Cy Ray, I believe, it is my opinion that he knows there is something shady as fudge going on. And that is why this is the very first case where Cy Ray is going to be siding with the defense. That is a red flag, right? When you have somebody who has been in law enforcement for 30 plus years, knows everything, has all the awards, has trained officers his entire life, and then he comes up, Cy Ray, and says, yeah, there's something fishy going on. I think we need to talk about this. We need to handle this. What is going on in the background? Are those his detective flags going up in his brain? Like, something is fishy, something is off. Is that why he chose to side with the defense for the first time in his life? Janet, all the other families went there. Exactly. Except the Gonsalves. Except the Gonsalves, right? So Amy says, I want to know if Steve has a second home in Puerto Rico to exempt him from taxes. Interesting. Interesting. I'm very curious to know what he actually does for a living, right? Because his CV, his resume is kind of all over the place. Self-made millionaire. It used to say that. If that was actually his account, I don't really know. Again, I've talked about several accounts that we have allegedly seen. We don't even know if it's Steve. Somebody did mention anyone could make a fake account and say it's Steve, and that is true. So we don't really know. Um, just wanted to point that out, right? So we have to wait until all information is exposed, right? We know there's a gag order. We know the crypto scheme Hex. That was one of my very early videos, guys. Please go watch that. I don't want to get too distracted in this video. That being said, I want your opinion because a lot of people have reached out to me privately lately after a lot of the Gonzalez videos that I've made, and they are saying that they've actually been suspicious of the Gonzalez family since day one. I wasn't. I wasn't. I was like, they're grieving. They're grieving. It is what it is. But more and more people are like, yeah, no, they've actually been suspicious from day one. When they waited 5 hours for law enforcement to show up on their porch with awful news. Why did they wait? And let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say, okay, maybe it's because of this rash. Is it because of this rash? I don't know about you. Maybe I don't know how severe the rash was. But if it was me and I hear that something horrible happened and I don't know what, I'm not being told anything by LE, the rash can effing wait. I'm driving. 5 hours, 20 hours, I'm driving. So it is, thank you, John. This is a very warm coat. It feels like -5, I think, or something crazy. Maybe it warmed up. The sun is kind of out in Chicago. They're pushing very hard to paint Brian as a vicious killer. They are. And a lot of people have said that their suspicions of the G fam, specifically Steve, grew when he made that comment. They didn't need to go upstairs. But I thought Maddie or Kaylee were the target, so why didn't they need to go upstairs, Steve? Why is that? Why did he say that? Was he just saying things because he was emotional and because he was not thinking clearly? Some people have speculated that Steve make sure that his wife is medicated. That's a speculation I've heard a lot. I don't know. Again, I'm not there to see what they're putting down their throats if they're taking anything. And honestly, that's not really for us to know, right? If a parent is choosing to take some whatever because of however they're feeling, that's up to them. But why did he say they didn't have to go upstairs? And why is he trying to still paint this narrative that Kaylee was the intended target? Is this because this is what narcissists do? Because everything has to revolve around them and their loved ones? The spotlight has to be on them? Or is this something suspicious or shady? Oh, I also wanted to tell you guys that Samantha Nelson, and I feel kind of dumb for this because I missed this yesterday. I was literally going through the disgusting, narcissistic, gaslighting letters, sharing biblical verses. Steve Gonzalez, what an effing hypocrite, right? Um, wrote this message to Samantha Nelson, his own biological daughter that he abandoned. And again, for people that are saying this doesn't matter, has nothing to do with the crime, you have to remember when we paint a picture of the family members of the victims, it can point us to other directions. Still, three unknown male DNAs. Just throwing that out there. I totally missed that Samantha Nelson on her TikTok actually shared my channel. And I'm like, thank you, Samantha. And honestly, what I'm saying, I respect Samantha as a fellow human being. She comes to me as a very honest, barely put together individual considering what she's been through. And we have her back. We have her back. I know we don't really know, I don't really know her, not in person, but I still have her back. I have this, I feel like this connection with her. Maybe it's because we were both in the jungle girls, jungle sisters. But I just love this girl and I think she needs all the support in the world. Um, she seems like the type of daughter that still doesn't hold grudges despite this narcissistic, slightly sociopathic incel father. You want to talk about a real incel, right? Now, let's talk about other suspicious things. Just ever so slightly. Let's just poke the bear a touch, shall we? This case, and I've said this from day one, it screams personal, it screams revenge, it screams family or somebody close to the victims. To this day, we still have idiotic Santa Bill Thompson trying to paint the picture of this incel that he himself, out of his own large mouth, said there's no connection to the victims. There was no stalking to the victims. There's no connection. That was out of Santa's mouth. So now he's going to have a hard time tracking back because if there's no connection, then you're going to have a very difficult time painting that picture of an incel that was magically found this house and decided to take four people out. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with painting a picture to a jury with that information. No stalking, no connection, but he magically knew the house. He magically knew the layout. Oh, but he went on Zillow, probably. Yeah, that house we know was creaky AF, right? Because people who lived there back in the day came forward and said you could hear every little creak. Like if you were on the first floor, you could hear people on the third floor. You could hear everything. So shady. Is that real fur? Look, that's a stupid question, right? Because when I see names of people in the chat that never comment, that never support me, why are you asking this question, guys? I'm just gonna give you a little analysis here. When you see a person who never comments ever, they never support the channel, and then they go and ask something that is non-related to the case, like about my clothing or my jewelry, or like, what is your problem? If it was what you're gonna leave, okay, go for it. But just so you know, it is not, right? Just so you guys know, that's how you know. Again, psychoanalyzing people in the chat. When you see a person who is trying to point out whatever, but they never actually support the channel, I know what you're trying to do, babe. Is what I'm trying to say. Okay, okay. I know what you're trying to do. So again, this case screams personal, it screams revenge, screams family. A lot of people have always believed that somehow, theorizing, guys, that the father was involved maybe in something illegal. And guess what? If Maddie was actually the one that was targeted, then that would make sense, right? If the father is theoretically speculating here, doing something illegal, why wouldn't they target their child and their child's friend and now the whole house, maybe? So, hello, Suds, welcome. And something to think about, right? Was this a parent, a very specific narcissistic, sociopathic parent that maybe owed some money to somebody and they didn't pay up, so they wouldn't take the parent out, right? Especially if you still want your money back. That's not the way to get your money back. You're not going to go delete moms and dads, the people who owe you the money. You would go to their children, right? That's who you would go to. Go to their children to send a message that they're not playing. And this is why a lot of people don't trust the G family. And now, considering what I shared yesterday in yesterday's video, what Samantha, his abandoned daughter, that he chose to abandon, Steve chose to abandon her. That letter was disturbing. That letter gave us insight into the type of person that he is. If you already didn't believe, now you know, now you see it with your own eyes, right? Gaslighting somebody with religious texts to make you feel better about your failings and make your daughter feel horrible about herself as if she already didn't. And then on top of that, to throw the whole TikTok community that supported you, Mr. Steve, that raised money for you, and have the audacity to say TikTok clowns. The only one that looks like a clown is Steve G, talking this way about the people that raised so much effing money on all of these GoFundMe's for him and the family. But this doesn't matter, Nika. Of course it matters, because when you get a real portrayal of these families, especially this very shady Gonsalves family, this could be a rabbit hole that leads somewhere, right? So when people come forward and say, "I don't trust the G family," it's like, no, no shit, no shit. And let me refresh your mind, shall we? Let's refresh our minds here. There was a former FBI agent, a former Navy SEAL, Jonathan Gilliam. Okay. This guy knows his stuff. He was also an ex homicide detective, I believe. And he has worked in law enforcement for a very, very long time. He's lots of experience in this. And Jonathan Gilliam, from the early days, guys, spoke about the Gonsalves. He did not speak well about Steve G. And this homicide detective, ex homicide detective, said that Steve and Christy contradicted everything that they said from the early days. I mean, this is a Navy SEAL guy, law enforcement, ex homicide detective, immediately calling out Steve Gonsalves, saying, a lot of what they're saying, first of all, they're saying way too much. They're talking way too much. They should be keeping their mouths a little bit quiet. And then what they're saying, it's a little bit contradictory. And what is going on? He said, guys, that Steve G looked like he was involved in this crime potentially, that he was very suspicious. Okay. This is not me, a nobody, a tiny YouTuber talking about this. This is somebody with experience, a life experience in the field, immediately saying that this is weird. This grieving father image that we see may not actually be what he really is. That nobody else that he has seen looks as suspicious, as involved in this crime as Mr. Gonsalves. I don't know about you, but that is very telling. Very, very telling. Lisa says SG acts like he is running the show. And maybe he is. Is he? Could he be running the show? Exactly, phonetics. When SG said they didn't have to go upstairs, my mind went to, what does he know? What else does he know? And when he stared into the camera those early days and he was like, be an alpha. Be an alpha. Be an alpha. Tell me who. Tell me. I get the feeling. I dropped my book. I get the feeling that he was talking to a specific person. That's just me. That's just a feeling. Who's the alpha? Be an alpha. Who was he talking to? Who was he directing his words to? Was it the frat boys? Was it Kaylee's ex-boyfriend? Was it somebody from Hex? Was it somebody who worked with him or for him? Who was he directing his speech to? So, I just wanted to remind you guys about that because I think the people of YouTube, the people on TikTok, are finally waking up, are slowly but surely starting to see through the Gonsalves. A lot of their actions speak louder than words. And again, maybe Steve Gonsalves Very likely, Steve Gonsalves said what he said in that letter to Samantha. Go watch yesterday's video if you did not watch it. I covered that there. Because maybe he thought that it wasn't going to be public. But with all the gaslighting and the Bible verses, it makes me think that he knew Samantha was going to be sharing it on TikTok. So he wanted to make himself look like the better person, right? Let me share some Bible verses, right? Let me be the bigger person. Allegedly, the Gonsalves refused to talk to cops. Allegedly. The Gonsalves did not want to be interviewed. Allegedly, the Gonsalves did not want to be investigated. Again, is that typical grieving behavior? But for me, investigate the shit out of me, right? Let's put ourselves in their shoes. If you're going through the same thing and you just lost a child, you already did something weird showing up 5 hours later after you knew that there had been an incident at 1122 King Road, or at least in Moscow, that likely involved your daughters, because they supposedly treated Maddie or saw her as a daughter. But they still did the weird thing, right? And then on top of that, after everything comes to light, after they know that their two daughters have now been deleted off planet Earth, they're like, yeah, we don't want to be investigated. I'm sorry, but I just have this very odd maternal feeling that most mothers, most fathers would say, you know what, investigate whatever needs to come out. It doesn't matter if my dirty laundry is aired, right? It doesn't matter, whatever that could be. It doesn't matter. The only reason I could think a parent, a mother, a father would not want to be investigated is they have some really deep, dark trash, junk in their closets. Disgusting things that cannot be exposed to the world, because if they are, maybe there could be some harm that comes out of that. Not just for Steve, not just for Christy, maybe for his entire family, right? Let's pretend that they get investigated. Let's pretend that they say, fuck it, investigate us. We want to get to the bottom of who did this. And things come out. And those things might expose other people. Maybe it's not worth it for the G's. Maybe it's not worth it for the G's. Another reason that I could think the family wouldn't want to be investigated is because they already know who did it. Olivia is also very odd. I think she has odd connections to weird people. I have always wondered, though, why is it that we never talk about the son? Why is that? I feel like it's very hard to find anything on the son. What's his name? Is it like Steve Jr. or something? G's have mentioned knowing there's skeletons coming out, but why choose then to not be investigated? Why not? If they're going to come out regardless, don't they have a son? I'm going to Google it. Let's see here. It is Steve Jr., right, Amy? Is that right? Yeah, it is. Here, I found a picture. Ugh. So, camera is here. Well, can you guys see it? That looks horrendous. Oh my god. There it goes. Steve the third. Yes, babe, 2 Steves. You get 2 for 1. Do they both have skeletons in their closets? Just curious. I know it's late, but today is Steve's birthday. Happy birthday to my amazing husband and father to my children. Ooh, his birthday is on October 8th, 2023. Is he a Scorpio? Also, our son, Stephen, third birthday was Friday. So happy birthday, son. We love you. We never hear anything about the son. We hear a lot about Olivia. Why don't we hear about the son? Is there something there? Is there nothing there? I don't know. I don't know these people. This is not anything personal. I just calls it as I sees it. And I see one thing I see through Steve. I see through Christy. If you don't see what they did to Samantha, that alone, okay, is enough to paint a very good picture of a person, how they treat their own children. Not once, not twice, because us parents, guys, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, right? Kids don't come with rule books. But when you make a mistake over and over and over again, and then you send these disgusting letters to your child that you abandoned, it paints a really disgusting picture. If that's how he is, in the public eye, I'm very curious to know how he is behind the scenes. How is he really? What type of person is he? What type of skeletons do they have in their closets? Because I'm pretty sure they're not good skeletons. If you're choosing to not be investigated, if that is actually true, let's just say, I don't know. I don't know if it is or not, but if they actually chose to not be investigated, red effing flags, right? So that's all I wanted to share for the day, guys. Please let me know, what do you think about the Gonsalves? Go give Samantha Nelson. She has now changed her name from Gonsalves to Nelson. So we need to throw a party for that girl. Go support her. Just send her some love. I think she would appreciate that. So thank you guys for joining me in the chat. Make sure to leave a like. There's almost 300 of you in here and there's 98 likes, right? Does this trigger you to give me a like, or do you just hate me more? I think you just hate me more. Oh, I got 3 likes. I guess you like the cheesy smile. Either way, guys, take care. Leave a like, leave a comment. If you guys are just coming in, that's okay. Don't feel bad. Some of you have asked about what time do I do this. Usually 3 to 3:50 usually before I go to my next job. So thank you guys for joining me. If you're part of the replay crew, that's cool too. Take care, guys. I think my connection is cutting off. See you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.